I am so glad you're here at Steamboat Kids for our block party. A block party is a kind of get-together you have with people who live in your neighborhood or maybe your apartment building. You can play games and have a dance party, or you can invite others to have so much fun with you. Honestly, it's a great way to show friendship. And friendship is using your words and actions to show others you care. Everybody wants to be a good friend, but sometimes we might not be the best at showing it. Sometimes we might have to stop and think about putting others before ourselves. God can help us choose to be good friends to others, and He can help us choose to surround ourselves with friends who will help us grow closer to Him. In today's story, we will find out something really important about choosing correctly. What is it? Well, you'll have to choose to listen to Kyle right now.
Yo, Steamboat Kids, my name is Kyle. I am having a block party, and you know what, a block party, Kyle, without my good friend,
Ryle, yeah.
Oh man, we are about to have a block party, but you know what? It consists of cornhole, which I'm better at.
But I'm better at tetherball, you know?
And I might be a little better at volleyball. Man, you should have seen his face. I spiked it last week.
No, but I dunked on him. Dunk, dunk, dunk.
Whatever,
I'm better
whatever.
at basketball.
Might be a little bit better. It's only because the beanie though. I mean, take the beanie off, he's got nothing. But
That's true.
Man, even though I'm better at some, you're better at some, BFS forever, bro.
BFS forever.
What's going on with Kyle? He's always up to something. Well, raise your hand if you think friendship is so important. God certainly thinks friendship is important. He made us to have a good relationship with each other. It's important for us to learn how to be a good friend and for us to have friends all around us to encourage us and to point us in the right direction. There are some key verses in the Bible that show us how important friendship is. We can find them in the book of Ecclesiastes. And a lot of people believe that Ecclesiastes was written by Solomon, who was the king over Israel. Solomon was actually King David's son. And when Solomon became king, God offered him the choice of whatever he wanted. Solomon could have asked for anything, but he didn't ask for 1,000,000 chicken nuggets or endless video games or to be like 10 feet tall. He asked for wisdom. He knew that he would need wisdom from God in order to be a good king for God's people. And God gave Solomon the wisdom that he asked for. And Solomon is known as one of the wisest men who had ever lived. So let's dive in and see why friendship is so important.
The Bible. It's 66 books of history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to form God's one big story. The epic adventure of how He created us and loves us so much that He made a way to rescue us. As we travel through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we discover people who met God and found their lives changed forever. Now, for an amazing story, inspired by the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 4, verses 9 through 12.
The writer of Ecclesiastes tells us 2 people are better than 1. They can help each other in everything they do. Suppose either of them falls down, then the one can help the other one up. But suppose a person falls down and doesn't have anyone to help them up. Then feel sorry for that person. One person could be overpowered, but 2 people can stand up for themselves. And a rope made with 3 cords isn't easily broken. Let's see how this might play out in someone's life today. Jackson slid into the small school theater and took a seat in the back row and waited for Mr. Ray, the music and arts teacher. It looked like there was only one other kid who showed up to build the set for the 5th grade production of Charlotte's Web, Amal from Mrs. Wiseman's class. Hey.
Hi.
The 2 boys sat there in awkward silence until Mr. Ray showed up.
Ah, my set team. Fantastic. You guys know each other?
Kinda.
Different classes. Well, you gotta get to spend a lot of time together in the next 2 weeks as we build this set and get it painted. You guys got any experience with power tools?
Jackson could see Amal shift nervously in his seat.
No, I don't want to go on stage. Miss Wiseman said I could do this instead.
Don't worry, I'll teach you what you need to know. How about you, Jackson?
I'm pretty good with a hammer, and I didn't want to wear some silly animal costume.
The 2 boys basically ignored each other as Mr. Ray showed them how to measure each piece of lumber for him to cut, and then he helped them lay out the pieces in a large frame.
Now, this'll be one of the wall flats for the backdrop. We'll paint it as part of the barn. Amal, you want to hammer in these nails?
I guess.
Hold it more like this. Don't worry, you'll get it.
I'll do this side. Jackson nailed together the entire flat while Amal still struggled with one corner.
What a klutz.
But it was a different story the next day when they started to paint.
This flat is part of our barn wall. I want you guys to paint a couple of chickens right there.
Amal grabbed a brush right away.
Oh, do you want them to look like real chickens or like cartoons?
Just give them your own personal spin.
Amal got to work right away, creating an entire palette of colors while Jackson was still trying to figure out which brush to pick.
Now, I've got to run down to the art room. Amal, why don't you show Jackson how to get started?
I don't really...
Mr. Ray smiled at them both.
He needs a hand. I think you guys will make a great team.
Mr. Ray hurried out. Jackson and Amal avoided each other's eyes.
Well, I'll sketch an outline for the chickens.
What do I do?
Just, fill it in.
I'm not really an artist.
Jackson dipped his brush randomly in the blue paint and frowned at Amal's outline.
Just have fun with it.
Jackson swiped the blue brush, outlining a wing.
I've never seen a blue chicken.
Oh.
It's great. It'll stand out.
Oh. Thanks.
By the time Mr. Ray returned, Jackson was surprised to discover that he and Amal had already painted 5 brilliant hued chickens. Mr. Ray grinned.
I've never seen a more flamboyant flock.
Jackson held out his fist to Amal, and Amal, surprised, gave him a fist bump.
Yep, see you boys tomorrow.
The next day, Amal showed up with a bruised finger on his left hand.
I can still paint with my right.
What happened?
Mr. Kunkel keeps putting me in as goalie during PE, and then I mess it up, and everyone on the team gets mad at me.
Do you stay on your toes? Keep your eye on the ball?
No. I just panic when the ball comes at me.
Look, I can show you some tips later in the parking lot, before my mom comes.
Really? That would be great.
And Jackson turned out to be a pretty good teacher because Amal managed to get 2 blocks during PE the next day. And when Jackson showed up to paint sets, stressed out by a math test, Amal grabbed his textbook.
Fractions?
I see all these weird numbers and I freeze up.
You just have to break it down like this.
With Amal's help, Jackson managed to stay calm during his test the next day. And by the middle of the next week, they had completed the entire backdrop for Charlotte's Web.
Well done. I knew you two would make a great team.
Amal's pretty okay.
Jackson's not too terrible.
Look, I know you guys are really different from each other, but it's boring if all your friends are just like you.
Together, they started gathering wood scraps and wiping off brushes.
Seriously, one of the wisest men to ever live pointed this out. Solomon.
Solomon?
Yep. He's this king in the Bible. He was a builder and an artist and super rich too. But for all the things he had, you know what he valued most? Friendship. He says it like this: 2 people are better than 1. They can help each other in everything they do.
On point.
Yeah.
Amal held out his fist, and Jackson tapped it with his own. Maybe Solomon and Mr. Ray were onto something.
It's super important for us to have strong friendships. Friends get more done. Friends help each other out, and friends stand up for each other. And most importantly, friends trust God together. We should try to be friends with everyone. But when it comes to people we're closest to, those who we spend most of our time with, and those who we really listen to, you need to ask yourself a question. Does this friend help me trust God? Because those are the kind of friends you need to be with most of the time. Because you know what? Our bottom line is you choose your friends carefully. And that's so important. You know that someone will be a strong friend to you if you have a strong friendship with God. That's why it's important that we seek out people who trust God. Your closest friends should help you love God and love people every single day.
Man, Kyle, I love you because we're so close. Loving God and loving people is so much easier.
I know. I love God more because I love you more. And you show me how to love God more, man.
That's awesome. Hey, but let's watch Steamboat Kids this weekend together, like a Steamboat Kids watch party.
Steamboat Kids watch party. That's what we should do.
Yeah.
Block party, watch
party,
party,
block
party
party,
on.
party.
Wow, That's a great idea. Solomon really knew what makes a great friendship. It's important to have friends to help us and encourage us to do our best. It's important for us to have friends who will always have our backs. But most of all, we should have friends who will help us trust God. So our bottom line is choose your friends carefully. And that's so good, because the good news is we have the perfect example of a true friend. No one has ever been a better friend than Jesus. When Jesus died for our sins, he showed us just how much he loves us. And it doesn't stop there, because Jesus is always with us. No matter what, our friendship should always point us back to him. So take what Solomon had said and think about your closest friends. Do you guys help each other out? Do you stick up for one another? Do you help each other trust God? If you're not sure, maybe talk to your friends about God and see what they do believe about him. Maybe it's time to seek some friends who you know want to follow God and choose to spend more time with them. When you spend time with friends like that, you're definitely making the wise choice. And remember, one of the best ways to find a good friend is to be a good friend. If your friend is having a bad day, take time to ask them what is wrong and really listen. If you know your friend feels overwhelmed at school, maybe ask, how can you help? If your friend is stressed out because of something at home, ask if you can pray about it together.
Headley, I love that you said we could pray together, because a lot of us had to be away from our friends earlier this year because of the coronavirus. That was really hard, wasn't it? Raise your hand if you still found ways to spend time with your friends, like maybe on the phone, a video chat. We can help and support each other when times are hard. We can remind each other to keep trusting God too. Let's take a look at our memory verse for this month. It's in the book of Proverbs, chapter 17, verse 17. Check it out. A friend who loves at all times. They are there to help when trouble comes. Proverbs 17:17. It's important to show love to our friends through our words and our actions. We can be there to help each other when times get tough. Thank you for joining us, Steamboat Kids. We'll see you next week.